Hello viewers, welcome to Diaspora Speak. This is Janet Wainaina. It's a very beautiful season here in the United Kingdom. But for us as Kenyans, we always think about money. So we had to find somebody from Kenya to talk to us about the Kenyan money. We have the Kenya Treasury and Planning Chief Administration Secretary Eric Wafhuko, who will be telling us a little bit about why he's in the United Kingdom. That's number one. And also talk to us about our public kitty. How are we doing as Kenya at the moment economically? So welcome to the program, Mr. Eric.
Thank you, Janet.
It's good to see you in the UK during this celebratory moment. How are you feeling?
Well, I feel very much at home. I see the weather is kind. I didn't find the harsh weather. I see people in celebratory mode, and everybody just seems happy.
And I hear you've been dancing in the street with all these dances going on. You've enjoyed that, right?
No, I've not had chance to do that.
You have wasted a moment.
I have used the moment to reflect, to write, to think through some of the things that we're doing back home, so that when I go back home, it's a lot easier for me to continue with the first wheel, as we have a few months to complete what we are doing with His Excellency the President and hand over to the next leadership.
I'm glad you talked about that, because that's exactly where I was going to be going. Yes. We are talking about our public money, yes, public finance. Yes. Your office is in charge of what's coming in and what's going out. Yes. Talk to us a little bit about what your office do, because many people, when they hear public money, they just really worry. But tell us, what is your work in that public office?
Thank you, Janet. I think the Kenyans need to know that the ministry we do have is National Treasury and Planning. And it's deliberate. Kenya has made a very deliberate step away from what we used to have as Ministry of Finance. So we have the Ministry of National Treasury and Planning to ensure that the planning process, which allows Kenyans to come up with their development priorities, should not be frustrated by the funding arm. So the funding arm and the arm that leads the country in the planning process to identify priorities are married in one ministry. So that ministry is not just keeping the money, it's also keeping the plans. And the Vision 2030, which is our current blueprint that takes us up to 2030, is domiciled within that ministry. We have a whole State Department of Planning that helps and guides the different ministries, departments, and state agencies to ensure that they are working towards our corporate plan as a country, in a way that allows us to achieve our vision of becoming a middle-income, enterprising, developing economy. And so we have a whole department also that monitors how we are implementing our plans. And that is the National Monitoring and Evaluation Department that is within Treasury. And that's the team that works with the public through public participation processes at both levels of government, at the national and at the county government level.
I mean, you're saying very well in terms of planning and implementation.
Yes.
But at the ground, can we feel those implementation for the Vision 2030?
Now, it is the people to tell us, but I was just laying the foundation so that people will understand that when we have a monitoring and evaluation department, it has come up with guidelines that can be used by the public at the national level and at the county government level. These guidelines are the National Implementation and Monitoring Evaluation System. It's a whole system now that has also gone electronic. We have launched electronic platforms through which feedback is immediate. So we are able to look at how we are moving as a country and hopefully help Kenyans to think beyond politics of the day and to go into the heavy nuts of how we are doing as a country. You will know that recently Kenya released the report that now does indicate how our economy is performing, how we have moved from minus 0.3% growth and now moved it to 7.5% growth as a country that is on a trajectory for growth. People who are in Nairobi, and if they want to look at the indicators that will help them know that something is changing, all they need to do is to go to Ngong Road and pass Kenyatta National Hospital and see the human traffic that we have now and what we used to have a few years ago. You don't have human traffic as much as we used to have. Why? Because through His Excellency the President, who emphasized to the Ministry of Health and to Treasury that we must release funding to ensure that we revitalize our health sector to a level where the other hospitals that are intermediate, level 1, level 3, level 4 hospitals, are functioning within our urban setups, to remove and take away the pressure from a referral hospital like Kenyatta, that is not handling malaria, is not handling headaches, that should be handled by other hospitals. And we have seen 18 more hospitals just refurbished and revamped within the city ahead of time, as directed by the president. So the health sector will just tell Kenyans to know how their money is moving. The other component is people. I have watched the reporting between Mombasa and Nairobi. All I hear is discussions around the SGR and its cost, but I don't often hear about the deaths that we used to have on that road. How many Kenyans we lost, and how many hours we lost because of time taken to travel on that road. That now Kenyans have options. You can either fly into Mombasa or you can use SGR, and we are expanding that particular corridor that between Mombasa and Nairobi and all the way to Western Kenya in the SGR design that has been designed, patterned after Malaysia, that we will have industrial parks. And Konza City is one of those along that corridor. And having a dry port at the center in Nakuru, Nakuru County, Naivasha town, is part of a strategic move that we must move into the heart of agricultural productive areas, position a dry port, and set up industries that allow finished products to come onto this particular SGR for export. And so that's the design for SGR, that we then said that the end of the SGR project will have special economic zone.
Well, I agree with you. The growth in Kenya can be felt. We have seen, the SGR, and we've seen even actually a lot of more people are feeling really good that the Kenya is developing. The question I'm asking here is, beautiful as it is, we are doing this with borrowed money. So are we balancing the book? Because most people are worried about the loans we are taking to grow the country. Maybe we are doing it so fast that we'll not be able to pay. Tell us about that, because that's a really big concern of all Kenyans globally.
Thank you, Janet. Why do we borrow? People think we borrow because we don't have, because we can't tax more. No, when we're dealing with the assets, creation of assets, and the development of infrastructure, we have to balance two concerns. One is to ensure that we don't lay the burden of building infrastructure to one generation, which we could have done through taxes. We borrow so that we spread that burden to be shared by generations that come later that will also benefit from that particular infrastructure project. And when we're looking at public debt, we need to be looking at what it is for. We have not borrowed to consume, we have borrowed to invest. And as Kenyans, as far as we are concerned, the borrowing has gone into asset creation. We are building assets. And let no one lie to you. You can talk about agriculture, but if you don't have the infrastructure for agriculture, your agriculture is going nowhere. You can talk about creation of jobs, but if you don't build the infrastructure to move goods and services faster, you're going nowhere. Now, we understand that we have had a dip. But from where we sit at Treasury, we have done the best. And we are getting the country out of the woods. And we all ask for is for those in the public debt space who have been using the GDP, the debt to GDP ratio. Now, when the data came out recently, Janet, that showed what the size of our GDP was, they went under. Because if you now have the GDP as reflected in the books, done according to international standards, and you subject the debt to that ratio, then you have to have some conversation. Yes. We also have a group of professionals called ISIFA, the Institute of Certified Investment and Finance Analysts in Kenya. This institute is saying debt sustainability is a better conversation than debt absolute. And they are inviting us to, are we investing in areas that in the long term will give us opportunities to be more productive than we are? And so we interestingly, Janet, if I could go on, I could go on, and just all to belabor the point that the government of Kenya, under the leadership of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, has been more concerned with the details of how do we do the hard work that has been a subject of discussion for years. If you go to Thwake Dam, Thwake Dam has been discussed from 1953. Thwake Dam is becoming a reality in this time now. And in fact, the president of the Africa Development Bank is in Kenya now. And part of the projects that African Development Bank is funding is Thwake Dam. What Thwake Dam will do is that it will help us to have 650 million cubic meters of water. It will help us to irrigate 24,000 hectares of land in Ukambani. It will help us to, along that dam, to help households with agricultural inputs and agricultural facilities for them to be productive and move them away from what is called in Ukambani Molio. So the operation Molio Out, that has been a project, many people are doing good work there. We have Bishop Titus Masika. And now this comes as a project that provides you with the water and provides you with electricity to support Konza City. Yeah,
so there's a good link there when you're talking about agriculture and how it's going to be developed. Yes. I understand that. Yes. I grew up in Molo when I was brought up with pyrethrum. Yes. That is what educated me. Yes. Pyrethrum industry is almost dead. Yes. There are so many other industries in Kenya which are going down because our imports have been so huge at the moment that most of the common mwananchi is feeling like whatever they are farming, whatever they are doing is not being really felt in Kenya, or it's not being used in Kenya. For example, from Tanzania to Kenya, products are coming in easily and cheaply. What happens to a common mwananchi? I know you're in part of your planning. What have you got the plans for bringing such industries back? Because say it as the truth of the matter, there's many agricultural products that are not there anymore, but those were the gold mines of Kenya.
Janet, I'm happy we are having this discussion. I'm happy because this is not an issue that happened yesterday. Yes. This is an issue that has been there for a long period. And we need to appreciate, I hope Kenyans take time to appreciate what we are accomplishing in the last 10 years. Yes. Thika town was dead. Thika life is coming downtown Thika because of the interventions we are making, with some of the car assembling companies returning to Thika. We have Bidco. Bidco, as a manufacturing company, wanted to go to Uganda. Through, again, the interventions, Bidco has come, and it's in Ruiru. And it's the largest factory in Africa for Bidco. We're having Rivertex. That was dead. Okay? So again, initiatives to revive these industries have just happened.
Who is it benefiting though? Like I understand where you're coming from, and I love the town how it is now. Yes. 10 years ago, it was dead. I agree with you. Yes. But who is benefiting? Because in Kenya, we are looking at many people who are getting rich very quickly, but the common mwananchi is really not getting there. How do you then make sure that as you develop Kenya, you also develop other people? Because the pull has to be felt from the ground.
I was dealing with industries. Okay? So sometimes when we're discussing industries, there's a temptation to think that the owner of the factory is benefiting. But we need to look at industries as a value chain, which have the inputs and then they have outputs. It really, the conversation in Kenya, we're hoping that Kenyans can raise that conversation beyond tribe. They can raise it beyond individuals. And we begin to see ourselves as Kenyans, that our fellow Kenyan is doing something good. We can come alongside and support them. But that industries have the inputs and outputs, and that we need to create longer value chains. Because there is somebody who is going to need the maize. They may be having milling companies, but they're still going to need the maize where the farmer is involved. where the transporter, border, and other people are involved along that value chain. So the value chain approach, Janet, is what will help our people. And that's part of why I am also in the UK. I came to speak to my fellow Africans and businesses from across the world that we need to rekindle the cooperative movement. Yeah, that the cooperative movement is what helped our earlier generation to create wealth. It is what helped people like my father, who came into the UK as a young person, was trained in large-scale farming, went back to the Rift Valley, to Trans Nzoia, and began to mobilize his kinsmen and others to form cooperatives, and that's how they bought land. So the cooperative movement is the one that will help us to stop asking the question of who is benefiting. Because we will now begin to come, all of us, together. We will begin to bring our resources in larger measure so that together we achieve more than what each of us can achieve.
I agree.
Yes.
Cooperatives will be one of the biggest movement that, it has picked Kenya for many years.
Yes.
For some reason it went down,
Yes.
but bringing that back, that one I agree with you 100%.
And we are bringing them back. They are coming back, okay? So that we are able to do the aggregation, okay? We are able to do the storage, the warehousing, and value addition. Cooperatives are needed.
And they're owned by those at the ground.
They are owned.
That is amazing.
If you remember the history of cooperative movement, Janet, in Kenya, is that cooperatives were happening at the district level. They were happening at regional level. In fact, at district, they were happening at sub-district level, called division. That's where cooperatives were for producer. Those were producer cooperatives. By the time they came to the district, they were a union. By the time now they came to the country, it was a association of unions, of cooperatives. So they were operating at that level. And so
what happened that it went down?
Several things happened. I think that one, the structural adjustment programs that were introduced in Kenya, the structural adjustment programs that began to see people like extension officers who were helping farmers with the technology and the knowledge, were pulled back because they were considered as an expense. Then the strength of the cooperative movement that had capacity to influence political direction also became a threat to the political class. And so the strategic moves were made to disempower them so that our politics could then become more manageable. And I think every time that cooperatives begin to move towards political space, we suffer economically.
That's true.
But at the moment, and so they begin to identify themselves with a political direction, and then they find themselves in a corner. And if we can help Kenyans, Janet, to begin to say we cannot leave politics 24/7. We need to have an environment where we care about our neighbors without worrying about which political party they belong to. Where we care about those children, and we begin to do things as Kenyans that move beyond partisan political equations that often come to undermine the cooperative movement.
I'm glad we talked about this or cooperatives, because I'm just thinking about devolution in Kenya. What has happened is, as Treasury, you've distributed the fund left, right, and center. Is that working better for Kenya, or was it better when it was just at a national level?
Kenyans are the ones to tell us, right? But the fruit of devolution can be felt, because the spirit of devolution was to have decisions made at the lowest unit of governance possible, closest to the problem, so that we can address some of those issues faster. And if you look at the functions that were devolved, they were responding to that need, that decisions should not take long to be made. But what has happened, Janet, is that devolution is not understood, all right? Yes. Devolution in Kenya is not understood. Counties have been confused for county government. But geographic units called counties also have national government. in the same units. So it is not a matter of who gets more resources, it is a matter of how do we achieve accountability. So when you go to the counties, the conversations are focusing on the few resources that are going there, but we are not seeing that accountability demanded on the national government, as it should, within the context of the counties. When you look at functions, and even how we are in a silly season of campaigns, when you look at what leaders in devolved units are promising people, those promises are for the national government. They are for the MPs and other leaders. So it will take us some time. We are praying and hoping that this has been the best time for devolution to be understood, because we have rolled out 2 medium-term plans under His Excellency President Uhuru.
Now, were you saying that many people are just concerned that it has, made in terms of the expenses from the government, with the county government, there's so many people now receiving, like let's say their pay from the public money, because with devolution it has brought so many offices that has to be funded. Do you think it's really logical to pay all those offices? Is there anything we can do? Because our concern is Kenya is paying more public servants than even America, which is a state, let's say. So how can we reduce the numbers? Because I think most Kenyans are concerned that our money, which is good money, like you said, the Treasury knows that, is most of that fund, a bigger percentage is just paying people.
Now, Kenyans are good people. They are the ones who decided that devolution is good for them. All right? If a time comes where they think that they need to rethink, yes, the constitution that they created gives them an opportunity to revisit that particular position. 2 is that Kenyans and the discussions around money is not a full discussion. We must come to a place
it's emotional discussion, isn't it?
We must have a discussion on what are we achieving with the resources. We are seeing a decongestion and dispersal of power from the center that allows the focus to shift from focusing on the one person to fix all their issues to having a team at the national and at the county levels that allows them now to, when we decongest and we devolve power, we create more stable institutions and more stable nations in which we also share in the success. And we share too, we should share in the blame. All right? So that's what I'll go for. Then if they talk about the wage bill, which is a different conversation, it's a different one. They also need to look at, I've had this conversation around MPs and how much MPs earn. But do the MPs really earn that money? Okay, is it their money? If you look at the number of funerals that an MP in a week is supposed to attend, the number of requests that they are supposed to attend, you find that our people are some of the broke people we have, because Kenyans think that the law can fix their culture. The law will not fix our culture. We have to rethink how we relate with the leaders. We have to rethink. We cannot turn our leaders into ATM, and when they ask for more for replenishment, then we blame them for going for it. The issue is us as Kenyans, and how our culture is either hindering us from becoming what we could be, or how it is helping us. You'll be called a bad person, and I have been called a bad person many times in my village, because I don't give out jobs. I don't, so they say, I don't give out money. Then I said, okay, I have not been hired at Treasury to create an employment bureau. I have been hired, and every child of Kenya is my concern. Not only children from my village. And the child in Garissa, I come from Trans Nzoia, but the child in Garissa, the child in Nyeri, Maragua, the child in Oloitoktok, they look to us as leaders to create an environment where their potential can be harnessed. And we need to help Kenyans to stop thinking that simply because you are of that tribe, you only help that tribe. We leaders who occupy national platforms, we've been put there. And I thank His Excellency, the President, for this opportunity to serve in this season from the private sector, where I have been, to serve in this season and say, while the sun rises, and while I still have the job, at least I serve at the pleasure of the President, we will create an environment where we go to Kenyans and have a hard conversation with Kenyans.
You know what? I listen to you, and you're a voice that Kenyans are listening to, left, right, and center. But tell you where you failed miserably as the Treasury,
Yes.
the diaspora. We are putting so much money into your kitty, but if I listen to any plans whatsoever you have for the diaspora, it's non-existent. So what is it that you ignore the diaspora? Yet you really, when you're saying the billions we are sending, it's really well written. What is it that you don't plan the diaspora?
Thank you, Janet. To the extent that we have failed you, allow us to say sorry, okay? And possibly we thought on our part we're doing something that the diaspora can link and latch onto. For example, we have released a single window system that allows imports and exports into Kenya to be done by our diaspora and Kenyans living at home, wherever they are. They are able to process that because we have converged functions relating to trade, import and export, to one single system. And we have appeared before Parliament and presented that system before Parliament. We have tested it for 8 years. It is working. Now we want an act of Parliament in order to legitimize all the documents that accompany that process. So we think that with this, our diaspora will be able to use technologies that they have wherever they are to latch onto that platform. Second thing we have done is to introduce the PPP approach, the public-private partnership approach, in our infrastructure development. And we have told the diaspora, and we keep telling the diaspora, that thank you for the remittances, which largely go to your families. Okay? They largely go to your families, just like Kenyans at home also send money to their families. But that knowing the potential and the size you are, we would like to invite you to infrastructure bond, where you now begin to invest, instead of us going to borrow some of this money, that Kenyans themselves can organize themselves and begin to influence the infrastructure bonds. We have right now in Lamu, we have constructed the Lamu port. We have capacity for 23 berths. We have done 3 as Kenya government. We are inviting Kenyans to partner in constructing the other 20 as a strategic infrastructure process. Nairobi Expressway is being celebrated now. It is one of those opportunities that we are extending to even the one, the Rironi one that was going to come. Say, consider infrastructure, not just now for even the diaspora in Kenya, but the diaspora and the whole of Africa that are holding $3.2 trillion in pension and other funds that are not earning them as much. That they could begin to move into infrastructure and view infrastructure not just as an enabler, but as a business.
Nala is not about Benji. Nala is not about Nala as a company. Nala is about you as the people, right? For me, it's a brand that's bigger than all of us, right? It's like Coca-Cola. 100 years from today, I want people to look back and say, this is what Nala did to impact the lives of Africans globally. We want to build payment infrastructure on the continent, but we can't do that without your help. So if you're watching this, I would love to be part of this journey. Please, join us, install an application, give us feedback directly. People like you really inspire us to do the work that we do. So we love your feedback, we love your help in helping us get into there. Ungana nasi, and let's go.
Where is that office that relates directly with the diaspora?
Okay, I think it's more of a statement than a question.
Yes.
And since we are developing our 4th medium-term plan, we are in the season of collecting the views. And the diaspora is a constituency that has been speaking loud. When His Excellency the President has gone around, he's been visiting with the diaspora. When these other leaders have also been going around, even presidential candidates, they have also been meeting the diaspora. And we hope that then the views around the diaspora will find their ways into the manifesto for those who are seeking to come in, and will find its way into the policy direction for us who are in, so that we can celebrate the diaspora. I have had the joy and privilege of working as a diaspora for a long period, working in the United States and working in the Caribbean, in Jamaica. And so I know what it means to connect with back home. And I have a challenge as one who is a fellow diaspora, that we need to find a way, right, of how the diaspora can create institutions and infrastructure that allows it to function at its level. I have gone to countries and I have found diaspora wants to behave like it can all fit in one basket. Diaspora is a nation that needs different structures for different components in order to function. I've gone to the United States of America and I have seen how diaspora needs to also heal, how ethnic divisions that we thought were only at home are also affecting them in the diaspora. And so, and challenge them that you are part of us, but find a way of how you can import into Kenya the unity, that it is possible for us from different backgrounds to work together for the common good of our country. And so that's my prayer. I've visited churches in the United States and I have said, no, there's something here that we need to find a way. And most of it has to do with uniqueness that sometimes is considered difference, that sometimes is considered division. When we could possibly embrace a new perspective that says, no, let us celebrate our uniqueness.
Celebrate our culture.
Let us celebrate our culture. Let us appreciate each other. And let us recognize where we each are, and we'll support you in that area. But let us not organize ourselves. Now, maybe this challenge is not in the UK, but I have just come from Ghana where I was attending the Africa Development Bank meetings, and we met the diaspora with His Excellency, the ambassador. And what we challenged there is we discovered our Kenyans are there. They're running the financial sector. They are in the hospitality space. And so we said, instead of us meeting together as Kenyans only because there's a crisis with one of us, why don't we begin to meet as Kenyans to organize this space? And instead of us looking to the ambassador to organize us, why don't we organize ourselves and even make the work of the ambassador easier? For example, a lot of good is happening between the UK and Kenya, as far as we are concerned as government. But when you go home, you find all these posts about the UK that you wonder whether our diaspora in the UK is connecting in order to clarify issues. For example, around nurses.
Yes.
We have signed a good MOU with the UK government.
We're welcoming them.
And our Kenyatta University is now a cancer center of excellence for research. And Kisii University is another one that we're expanding to. And we're having 8 hospitals that will benefit from that arrangement. And in the immediate time, we have said, okay, if there is surplus of human resource, we should be able to bring them. So we've brought the nurses, the first batch of nurses, and now we have realized, okay, on this value chain, the teams that used to recruit people and then earn from the first salary are left out. So the conversation is there on how do we create a win-win situation. Yes, we're having Asia and Middle East, where we don't have an arrangement, government-to-government arrangement, and issues are, so we praise and we celebrate. And I was with His Excellency, our ambassador, Manoa Espiso, and just saying thank you for leading this and helping and working with His Excellency the President to ensure that in the UK, we have a pipeline on how human resource and the capacity building can go both ways. So you guys are doing good. But that story, if you sit with our mission and create an infrastructure where you sit with our mission to understand this and to see, then you become the ambassadors that are able, using the powerful space that you do have, is able to help Kenyans, not only back home, but also help our mission agencies across the world, that we can enter into this arrangement where we clean up this issue where our daughters are committing suicide. They are going into Middle East and they're coming back dead. Yeah.
To be managed.
We can, I think, Janet, we can manage that. But you know, you asked a question about value for money. Okay? You said, are we getting value for money for the things we do? There's a move, okay, within government to constantly go for reforms that help us to be more efficient. And within the Vision 2030, we have the public sector reforms as one of the areas to be looked at under the enablers, so that we shift from being focused on a bureaucracy and we begin to focus on Kenyans. In fact, at Treasury, we have proposed in our statement that we made to Parliament in the budget that is going to run from August, from July. July is next month, okay, as we go. We've proposed a shift. We are now moving from having Kenya Revenue Authority to Kenya Revenue Services, because we want Kenyans to feel that we add value. We want Kenyan businesses, both at home and in the diaspora, feel like we are not standing in the way of the opportunity.
Authority, it looks like you've
Yes, yeah, but we want to facilitate them to do business, because when they grow, we all grow as a people. After all, we are only stewards at Treasury.
We would like this conversation to continue, because for the diaspora,
Yes.
I really know that a lot of us want to engage far much better in building Kenya in a better way. But a lot of our investment there, we are worried that our children might never access it as inheritance. So that conversation has already started, because many diasporans who invested very well there, many who have passed on, we've seen that their children are really struggling to get their inheritance. So I say that is a conversation that needs to be streamlined in a way that the diaspora has been thought properly. So I really would like you to take that to your office and think about how can we support the diaspora better when they invest, that their kinship, their children can find a way to easily get their inheritance from Kenya. I think that is a question of I would like you to take home. But getting to a point, because I think we have talked for long, and I think we are good at speaking. So this is a political season in Kenya, and we can't leave you, Eric, without asking you to really talk to Kenyans out there on the 10th of August from the Treasury. What do you want to see? A message to Kenyans, how to handle the political season and also how to manage their finance during this political season.
Thank you, Janet. We say election is not an event, it's a process. And that within that process, what is important for us as Kenyans is peace. Because without peace, it is impossible to grow the economy we are talking about, to stay together in harmony and peace we are talking about. So we take it for granted, but peace is so critical. Now, peace has three components. There's peacemaking, there's peacekeeping, and there's peace building. And it's played by different agents. Right now, we have an opportunity to build on the goodwill that exists in the country, where even the political leadership has seen the need to pull together. And we pray that that will be important for us to keep. It doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, because in the Constitution, that's your political right. And however much we desire, we will never come to a place where we take your position. As a Kenyan, it is your right to express your political freedoms, but that you do that responsibly. We are moving into a space of fake news. And Kenyans, to justify their political persuasions, are going to be sending over and over fake news in the hope that it advances the political interests of those they support. And some are going to be overzealous in their emotions, in their hope that it will translate to votes. I've had the joy and privilege of being a consultant in political space, in developing strategies and all those kinds of things that are useful. But at the end of the day, I know that leaders come from God. And God has a leader for us on that day. But he uses you and me to help bring those leaders in. And so for us at Treasury, we are praying because any statements that are made by politicians have a bearing on Treasury because we act as a stock exchange. Okay? And the world is celebrating the progress we have made, the plans we've put in place. The reason you've seen me travel around is to also support my boss, Ambassador Kuriatan, the CS for Treasury, and support my ultimate boss, His Excellency the President, in ensuring that we are strengthening partnerships, we are strengthening relationships with our development partners. We are encouraging Kenyans in the diaspora and elsewhere that there's a country to build and that no one will build it except ourselves. And to come to a place where we increase the size of the private sector and diminish the place of the public sector in the life of Kenyans, as Kenyans take charge of driving their own lives. Because there is no dignity in begging. And there is no dignity in being stateless. We can fight. At the end of the day, if you fly out, you'll discover that you are stateless at the airport. You can't move, you can't go forward, you can't go behind, you're stuck there, changing clothes and nappies in the corridors of airports that no longer will tolerate you. So let us build our country and let us pull together in a way that then holds leaders accountable to give us the agenda they have for the country. My prayer, Janet, is that based on where His Excellency President Kenyatta has brought the country, I pray that those who are seeking leadership at the top level will not take us to the lower levels, but that they will build on that trajectory and that speed, because the speed inside is high. The way Africa views Kenya now, right from the Africa Union and what the president has done, right from the Africa peer review mechanism where Kenya is a champion, right from the infrastructure development, PIDA, the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, where the president is again the champion, with the SGR, with LAPSET and other projects that were in the vision, but he is implementing them. So he has become a darling, right? Or at the continental level. So we pray that we will build on that level, and that what goes for the leaders in the country. Some who are asking, Eric, what is your view on this? I said, my view is Kenya. My view is every child. And my view is that don't destroy the legacy that has been built, but build on it.
Fantastic. We all have a national responsibility. And whether you're Kenyans abroad, whether you're Kenyans in Kenya, wherever you are, remember that even after the 9th of August, the 10th of August and after, you will have your home, you will have your neighbor, you would like your business to continue. So we would like to say that we want to see most Kenyans doing extremely well in the next government, whichever government that is. So we have taken a lot of your time, viewers, and thank you for being there with us today. We're talking with Mr. Eric Wafhuko, telling us about the Kenyan kitty. I'm going to leave him right now to actually go and dress up for the Jubilee, right? Have you got your outfit to come and celebrate the Jubilee?
I tried to get a white, you know, Britain is white, yes, blue and red. So I'm going to look for a white shirt.
Oh, you can just go and get a kilt and join us and yes. Just...
Yeah. No, I'm getting back home. I finished, I came for the meeting. We finished the conference, and so I need to make my way home. And I want to thank you for the time that we could stop and reflect on Kenya with Kenyans.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. So viewers, this is the time we say goodbye. I want to thank our sponsor, Nala Money. We are building Africa. Every day we are saying, send your money back home. Because when you do that, and we have the Treasury here saying they're keeping your money safe. So send your money back home, build Africa, because that's the only way we can say Africa is competing with the rest of the world. Kenya has done well, Kenya has grown, the rest of the world want to invest in Kenya. We have a lot of international investors wanting to go to Kenya. You as a diasporian, don't let your country go away. Put your money in your country.
This presentation was brought to you by UKent TV in conjunction with Nala Money.